All right. Morning, everyone. Morning. How's everyone doing? Day 3, Dreamforce. Welcome. Welcome.
Watch out, go back.
Uh-oh. So, by the way, this slide just 2 seconds ago, this presentation has taken a life of its own. It will advance on its own. So, it's going to be an interactive presentation. First of all, thanks everybody for joining us this morning. My name's Mario Finocchiaro. I'm the Vice President of Internet of Things at LogMeIn and our Zyvely IoT platform. We have an awesome quick session for you today where we want to do 3 things. We're basically going to learn a little bit about setting some context around IoT. Then the most important part is you're going to hear 2 amazing case studies from our customers, I'll introduce in a second, who are going to talk a little bit about their IoT journey, bringing products out to market, connected IoT products. And then we're going to have a little Q&A at the end, and at the very end, we have a really interesting opportunity for all of you who are sitting in these seats, so don't make sure not to miss that. It's great to have been here for, this is I think our 5th year now presenting at Dreamforce. So without further ado, I want to introduce the stars of the show. Kyle Seaman here, who is the Director of Farm Technologies from Freight Farms, and Bart Strong, who's the Director of Digital Technologies for Traeger Grills. You can see their setups just at the Zyvely booth right on the other side of the blue dome if you want to learn more afterwards. So let's get started. So my guess is, and maybe by a show of hands, are there people here who are either starting or looking to start or already launching an IoT connected product? Show of hands. We have a few show of hands here. So my guess is part of the reason you're here is because you're thinking about IoT or you're involved in it. And from our experience, just to kind of take a step back for a second, in the past 5 or so years we've been doing this, one of the things that we've seen as a common theme is that companies can get stuck in IoT. They can get stuck for a bunch of reasons. And in fact, what we did when we surveyed customers, we found about 81%, over 80%, got stuck trying to do it themselves. And this is a theme that you're going to hear a little bit more about. And the reason that this can be tricky is because IoT is hard. There's a lot involved with launching not just a connected product, but a connected business. This is from a white paper we did in 2013 that became a huge hit called 7 Steps to Business Success in IoT. And if you think about like this journey, if you're going from making a standard non-connected product to connecting it, which means you're now a 24/7 online service provider, that has a ton of implications for how you run your business, not just the product. And so just to highlight steps, right? Not only do you have to figure out what's the business case and value proposition for your customers, but what's the hardware? What protocols are you going to use? What's the security stack, right, in the connected product? Then the cloud infrastructure. How are you backing it up? What's your API strategy? What's your data strategy? Then you're developing an app, right? With connected products, you're often integrating and interfacing with your customers with an app. That's their experience. What does that look like? And then if you're running a connected business, of course, you're not just having a connected product, but you want to tie that data into business systems like Salesforce. Then there's always this question, what do you do with the data? And finally, how do you support your customers? Again, when you're a 24/7 online service provider, the support obligation changes from just kind of shipping a non-connected product. So these are all these considerations that that someone has to think about when they're launching a product, and you're going to hear a lot more about that shortly. And what we try to do with Zyvely and Salesforce is to make that easy. So Zyvely, for those of you who don't know what Zyvely is we're an IoT platform, and what we strive to be is the world's best IoT platform for connecting physical products to the cloud very securely and at very, very high scale and with very high performance and globally, and then curating the data so that it can be ingested into other systems of record, like any of the Salesforce clouds, Salesforce IoT. We've been partners with Salesforce IoT since they launched 2 years ago, and we're really excited about that continued partnership now. And one of the other points I'll just highlight, since we're here at Salesforce conference, if you want to try or buy Zyvely as an IoT platform, you can actually do that as an add-on SKU in your Salesforce contract. So that's a very unique thing that only Zyvely can do. So our point here is to make it easy to start and get going and really develop your IoT business. And ultimately the aim is what I think the point I want to make, and hopefully that you'll leave with, is it's never been easier to get started and to focus on what I think is really important. I think you're going to hear from Kyle and Brad about this. Focus on what's important to your business and your customers and not worry about all the infrastructure on the back end. Make sense? All right, so without further ado,
thank you.
Kyle.
Awesome.
You want to tell us a little bit about Freight Farms?
So like Mario said, I'm with a company called Freight Farms. What we do, we're out of Boston, we build hydroponic farms inside of shipping containers. 40 by 8 shipping container, totally retrofitted for optimal growth of leafy greens year round. The mission of the company was to make local agricultural, local farming available anywhere in the world, and to also give a new revenue stream to farmers so that in the winters and off seasons they can keep producing. So it's a pretty complex machine. We've got 12 sensors, 32 pieces of equipment, and it's fully automated. So you tell us what you want to grow, and the farm handles it. Granted, you still have to run a business. You still have to farm. It's just a little bit easier. What's cool is it'll do around 1,000 heads of lettuce a week. So that's about 2 acres equivalent of production, and using 90% less water because it's fully contained and circulated. So we started in 2010 and we shipped these out. We had around 40 of them in the field, not literal fields. And we realized, interesting, we've got these single farms, and we're a manufacturer. We're selling high-end equipment. But we realized there's a real opportunity to become a network of farms. So how do we go from just selling this one-off device, having a bunch of siloed farmers doing their job, but us being completely disconnected and getting no network benefits? So first and foremost, we realized if we could create a network of farms, we stood to have a real potential in doing something that never has existed in agriculture. We have a bit of an advantage because we were digital natives, so to speak, so our farms were already primed for connectivity. But we did it. So it's been about 3 years now working with Zyvely. We now have a connected farm and a network of these connected farms. The first most interesting thing has been recipes. We now have farmers developing new ways to grow different herbs with different recipes, and we can figure that out and share that back. The other things has been just support, being able to actually have visibility. But first and foremost at this is the idea of the customer experience. What was once shipping this physical farm, where you had to go in daily, this is your livelihood, you're working on this farm every single day. By connecting the product, all of a sudden you only had to be in the farm when you were being productive. So it seems obvious, but being able to tell that your farm is okay is a big deal. A lot of these farms are placed under alleyways or highways and alleys, kind of remote locations. And having the farmer be able to be productive in selling their produce instead of being in the farm every day was a game changer. All of a sudden you could start having 2 farms or more. The other side effect of it was now all of a sudden we had a customer command center. So internally our rule is never build internal UIs. So we build a custom front-end web app, but we never build internal UIs. We rely on Salesforce and some other platforms because they have our permission structure already. They have great UIs already internally. So between Zyvely and Salesforce, we were actually to plug everything in together. So every farm is an asset. All of that data is coming through. So when you call up for support, we're a small team in Boston supporting now hundreds of these farms globally. We have instant readings on your farm. We know what the status is. We know your purchase history. And we can actually tailor a real customer experience to you. The second piece is using the rules engine off of Zyvely and some of the other Salesforce IoT pieces is we can be proactive. So we know patterns now. Being connected, we actually have a population of issues. So we know when failure might occur. We can see it based on our sensor level. So we actually will proactively create cases inside of Salesforce. The cool thing is I don't write any of that code. What I'm basically doing is system of systems. And it's actually a great metaphor for our farm. Our farm is a system of systems. So it's been really valuable to get the data into a single place and then realize all the different paths that can go. So we've been at it for 3 years. I'll hand it over to Bart now. They're early in this process. So we're a little more established, running, already seeing benefits. I think Bart will talk a little bit more about getting started with it all.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I'm Bart from Traeger Grills, and just a little background for you guys. Traeger Grills makes a wood pellet grill. So traditionally we make smokers. Well, as we started getting into this, and this has been a question that I have actually been getting all week long, and as I tell people kind of what we're doing, why would you decide to go IoT? Why would you decide to connect your grill? Well, one of the reasons, we want to be known as the leader or the innovator in the outdoor cooking space. So that's one of the benefits we're getting there. Another thing we're looking to do is we really want to learn and know what our customers are doing and figure out how we can better our product, better their cooking experience, help them have just this amazing experience in grilling, because grilling is such a social activity, and when it goes bad, it can be a socially bad thing. So we've started out, we launched this product end of March timeframe, and when we did that, we actually had built our own IoT platform. So any of you guys who were raising your hand earlier saying you're getting into it, I can tell you from our experience that we quickly learned that it was not going to scale with us. And at Traeger, we are a barbecue company. So I did not want to develop a whole staff of guys to build an IoT platform. So we moved out, started looking at other solutions out there, and did a whole analysis and came to Zyvely. What Zyvely has offered us is now I no longer have to worry about all of these things. I don't have to have a developer on staff to just make sure that my platform is connecting, my users are being managed, my data is getting to a database, all those kinds of things. We're going to be leveraging the Zyvely platform into this migration. And one of our goals originally was to get this into Salesforce so that we get the power of being able to target market now to somebody. Because now that I have a connected grill, I know what you're cooking, when you're cooking, how often you're cooking, and that. And so now I can look to send you recipes specific to what you're doing, and I can really focus on the customer, because at Traeger, that's really what we are focused on, is trying to just enrich that outdoor cooking experience for everybody. So now, rather than focusing on the other, we're focusing on experiences for our customers and things like that. And with the success, that's kind of some of the things we have been looking at with how do we know we're successful at IoT? It's when we truly understand our customers. Today we have thousands and thousands of grills out there on the market and thousands of customers and brand enthusiasts and loyals. But we don't know what they do and how often they're doing things. We get feedback from areas, but now like I said, we're truly going to have a better understanding of what's going on there. And then just kind of an example, as we got into this, you can see here's what our architecture looked like. There's tons of boxes out there. We grabbed this piece, we grabbed that piece, and we put it all together into this architecture to do IoT. Now as we're moving over and getting Zyvely up there, we're starting to cut some of these boxes out. And there's still more boxes at the bottom that we're looking at ways that we can get rid of some of these things as well and look to Salesforce and other platforms to help us. And now we got a platform that looks more like this. Now we have our Commerce Cloud, we have our Zyvely, we're running all this on Heroku, and we're getting everything into the Salesforce platform to be able to take advantage of all this information. So it's kind of where we're at right now. We're in that migration path. We're hoping by the end of this year we get there, and it's been, honestly, one of the decisions to move over to Zyvely has been their support and their team and everything. So it's been great so far, and we're making quick progress. What took us originally over a year to build out is now taking us months to build out in a migration, because we're not having to worry about all those security and all those other things as well. So, and like said earlier, we have a booth over there, and I actually have one of our connected grills here on site. We are actually going to be giving that grill away. So after this, if you guys want to come over and ask some more questions, we'll be over there. You can enter into the drawing. So come over and visit us and ask away. Anything?
Yeah, great, thanks, Bart. So we'd love to get some questions from the audience. If you have any questions for two guys who, Bart, who's kind of getting started in his first Dreamforce, right?
Yeah.
And how many is this for you?
It's only two, but
only
it
two.
Feels like a lot.
It feels like a lot.
Yeah.
So what questions? Any questions for Bart or Kyle? If not, I've got one for you.
Yeah.
So actually, Bart, I want to start with you since this is your first Dreamforce. So now that you're here showing your connected grill, and right, it's not just connected, it's that ability to control it, but also share recipes and build out communities. What's the biggest feedback or the biggest kind of impression that you've gotten after talking to so many people?
Yeah, so it's been great feedback. We actually had a lot of people come over and go, why is there a grill here? What's the purpose and why is it here for Salesforce? And as we start to explain how we want to grow this and learn about our customer, everybody realizes the business case and the use that we have there, and it's much more than just the grilling. It's more about learning the customer, and everyone's saying, I've been coming to Dreamforce for years, and this is one of the coolest use cases I've actually seen. So it's been very positive, and having a plan like that and not just going for the gadget factor and just it's kind of a cool thing, but actually having why you want to connect as part of your plan up front has been a good thing for us as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, we have a question.
Yeah, so I think the question was, how has our customer changed as we've gotten into the IoT? So what's interesting is about 95% of our customers have never farmed before. So we have around, say, 200 farms. We have 10 actual farmers. The rest are brand new to it. The biggest thing that changed is it's interesting, when you're dealing with hardware and something goes wrong, it's often a user fault, but it's unknown. So the biggest thing that has changed is how we can onboard and get customers to success. So once you go, it's 7 weeks from seed to harvest. And that's sort of doing real world analytics is a pretty amazing thing. So knowing when someone hits a milestone that they're set up for success. So the biggest thing that's changed for us is not the customer profile has remained the same, has been the success of that customer and how quickly we can get them there. So when someone calls up for support, we know what stage they are in onboarding. And we know, because of the data, if it was their fault, they turned something off and it shouldn't have been off, or if it was our fault, and often in case we'll take the blame, but we can word it in a much more productive way. So I would say the customer, it's getting them to success, because we have multiple farmers now 2 years in buying more farms. So the sooner you can get to success, and I actually think analytics for real world is an interesting byproduct of being connected. So usage rates and usage patterns. Facebook always talks about their magic number, which is 7 friends and they'll stick around. If you can identify that in a hardware product, that's insight that never existed. So that would be the biggest thing for us.
So it sounds like if we look at those 7 steps, what you're talking was that last one, customer support, was one of the big differences.
And I think it's customer support and success. They go kind of hand in hand, which is
the first one.
Yeah.
What's the business value for the customer?
Yeah, and it doesn't, and that doesn't end. You're continuing. So we rolled out support modules. We rolled out an e-commerce module. And it all just keeps building. The business cases keep developing. So we keep doing miniature sprints across that life cycle.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Helpful? Any other questions? Yeah.
Talk a little bit about how all of us impact your marketing department.
Yeah, you take it? Repeat the question, Jeff.
Yeah, so the question is, how does this impact our marketing department, right? So from our standpoint, we're actually looking at ways that we can help our marketing department really understand our customer even better. So the impacts there are that we can be able to build out maybe more targeted demographics and people that we're actually talking to. Because traditionally as a barbecue company, we have the hardcore barbecue guys that are all this kind of stuff, but now we're starting to learn a little bit more. Who's the hobbyist? Who's the guy who's just getting into it? Those kinds of things. And so we'll be able to give them much more information about who our consumer is and how to talk to them.
Yeah, and I would say for us, we look different. There's no one else. The space has gotten, the indoor growing space has exploded in these last few years, and it's actually quite competitive. So being ahead is so important. So for us, it's a differentiator. Being able to say, of course we have this feature, and it's not a bolt-on, it's not a paid-for service, it comes with the product. A lot of customers, we've seen this theme throughout the week, is consumer experiences are now expected at the enterprise level. So we invest heavily in a beautiful user experience, custom, because they expect it. So from our marketing standpoint, it's more just backing them up so that our product is what the consumer expects versus making excuses. Yeah.
That's great.
Cool.
Any other questions?
That's pretty good.
So
we're around over there too.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask, so this is the second Dreamforce for you, right? Last time you had the full container over there when we had a whole bunch of IoT in the IoT zone. So in the last 20 seconds or so, what's changed in your evolution?
Yeah, we've just matured. It went from last year, we had just really gotten to the point of I could sleep peacefully knowing that our product was churning. And now we've got an e-commerce platform, a support module. We actually have the systems running. So now it's sort of in operational mode. So it's the maturity level has gone from prototype to reality. So
That's
pretty great.
That's great.
Cool.
So we're right about at time. Thanks again for coming, and make sure by 11 o'clock, if you want to enter to win the grill, go over, just type in your info, and you're entered to win. Thanks so much, everybody.